What our system does, it allows for an airline to manage, for example, their pet policy, their inventory management, their pricing, offer dynamic pricing. And so now people can actually, whether it's a customer or a free forwarder, can actually make the reservation fully online. And so we're moving what is currently a very manual offline process, we're moving it online for them.
We are here at IATA World Cargo Symposium in Istanbul, and with me is Nicole Caba. She's the founder and CEO of Pawtrip, a pet reservation system. It's something that is I've discovered in the last couple of weeks. It's been great to have Nicole join us for this conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Nicole, tell us what is Pawtrip, a pet reservation system. Explain what it is.
It's an exciting topic because I'm a pet parent. So our pet reservation system is a fully integrated, customizable system that is to empower and enable airlines and the travel industry to really manage a digital solution for pet reservations. And when I say pets, I also mean pets, live animals, support animals, emotional support animals as well in there. But really it's a system that can now allow for pets to be reserved online. You know, we have a growing market of people who are traveling with pets. And what our system does, it allows for an airline to manage, for example, their pet policy, their inventory management, their pricing, offer dynamic pricing. And so now people can actually, whether it's a customer or a free forwarder, can actually make the reservation fully online. And so we're moving what is currently a very manual offline process, we're moving it online for them.
Do we have the operations already running with some of the airlines?
Great question. So we are an early stage startup, and we have a few airlines that we're speaking with now to finalize. So hopefully we'll be able to share some of that in the next month or two. But yes, we do have Eastern Airlines, and we'll be growing that over the next few months.
Nicole, give me a little more details about how this platform works and how does it get integrated into multiple systems that airlines use for various purposes. Is it a system that allows you to do easily plug and place a solution?
Yeah, so we actually very much took that approach. So what we offer is a white label system, and the way that we integrate, obviously we have proprietary type involved, but we do integrate with, on the passenger side, PSS systems, and then on the cargo side, we'll integrate with cargo systems. How we're able to do that is we're able to get very simply API details, and from there be able to make the integration fully, where we have the booking, the airlines, flight, their reservation systems. And so we actually integrate. Think of us as we embed with their system. We want to empower what they already have, but now have a more customer-centric approach, or a customer who is traveling with their animal can actually understand how the process works, know what documents, and be able to book everything online.
Do you have bookings already done on the platform?
Yes.
How many have you done?
Off the top of my head, we can say there's several hundred searches at least for flight bookings that have every week, and that all depends on the airline. So when we integrate with the airline, it's the airline's customers that are using the software. So as we expand that, we'll be expanding our...
Let me understand, if I'm traveling from, let's say, from Istanbul to Amsterdam, and I have a pet that I would like to take along with me, how does it work? I can so easy like the way that I book my ticket on any of the booking platform?
Yes. So basically you would be going to the airline that you are choosing. So I guess you're giving an example, and maybe we'll say like KLM. And when you go onto their site, what people tend to do is they need to know what is the pet policy. So people start looking at, well, where's their pet policy? What rules do they have? And so now they're reading basically almost legal type documents just to figure out, does my pet fit? Is it allowed? How many seats are available? We have no idea. So you would probably start there. Once you find out, okay, yes, I can actually maybe take my pet, you would need to book in the traditional setting, you would have to book your flight first and then call the airline. With our system, you would then actually go on their site, find where it says reserve pets online. You would book your flight as a passenger and your pet at the same time. So you usually see where it mentions, add an adult, infant. There's also one that says add pets. And when you click to add pet, now it has the information that we require to do checks around. Do they meet the pet policy requirements? Is there availability on that flight? What is the price for that pet? And so that's an example of how that is. So you can actually book your passenger ticket and your pet at the same time and know what you need for that to be a successful trip.
And these are my co-passengers sitting on the another seat. And do I have the choice of choosing the seat next to where my pet sit, the passenger cabin?
This is a great question because actually in terms of allergies, this is an important topic. Currently, airlines don't provide any of this. With our system, the seat map can actually show where our pets allocated, and we can also front load pets to be reserved on certain flights where others are non-pet allowed. So that way we can actually accommodate to certain people who do have very serious allergies as well. So yes, funny enough, I've actually been approached by some people who said, I will pay extra just to sit by a pet. And this is a very interesting and funny point, but yes, that is what our system can do as well.
And do they have to be in crates?
Yeah, so there are certain animals that will need to be in crates or carriers. Of course, looking at FAA, DOT, IATA regulations. If they are, for example, a pet and they need to be in a carrier, usually by their feet, some airlines will actually allow you to book a seat. The pet still continues at the bottom. Now, a service animal does not go inside of a carrier, because they need to be able to do what they need to do in case of an emergency. So there's different scenarios where some may be in a crate. Sometimes you may see some animals that are not inside of a crate, and that's kind of distinguishing the difference.
What about unaccompanied pet and that you need to book and send your pet to a destination? What happens in that case?
So in that case, usually that's when they'll be traveling in cargo, where they'll need to work with a freight forwarder, a pet shipper, an animal transporter. This is actually how we started. I am licensed as an animal transporter. And if they need it unaccompanied, then they'll just have to do the certain paperwork, airway bills, make sure that they have the right documentation. But that's where a freight forwarder will come in place. They will understand, what are the rules, what documents need to be considered, and they will actually then go to the airline, their cargo team, and make the reservation. But that's where a lot of the manual process still occurs. It's a lot of back and forth. It could take several days to make a reservation. And why not have a more digital real-time pricing option for live animals? It's something that has actually been left off the table from a lot of the cargo solutions that exist. Yes, they do real-time pricing for but not for live animals. And so that's something that we're actually tackling. It being so niche allows us to really hone in on something that we know is very important to not only pet owners, but also just everyone involved in the process.
Does your system allow, suppose I'm a passenger and I would like to carry my pet along with me, but then I wouldn't want to be the pet to be in the passenger cabin, but in the cargo hold. Is that a possibility?
Yes, absolutely. So that would be in a company travel. So depending on the airline, they may allow for what's considered cargo hold, and then there's also cargo. So in the cargo hold, they may also refer to as excess baggage. You can actually then allow and drop off your pet to be in a similar area of the cargo, but it allows for you to have your pet, you do all of the reservation, you drop off your pet as opposed to working with a freight forwarder. So some airlines allow for that. And on that side, it's actually not managed by the cargo team. That's managed more on the passenger side of the airline. So yes.
What about the ability to track the animal has been sent, a pet animal has been sent to a destination, but I would like to know what is the condition of my pet sitting inside the belly, the cargo hold of an airplane? Is there a tracking device, is there a tracking system in order to know what is the health of the pet?
Great question, because this is where a lot of pet parents are wanting this level of service. And I think that's where the standard is having to be elevated on how animal transport is done currently, because people expect to get notified. They want to know, well, where's my animal going? How, where's my pet going? How are they being treated? And so currently there is no system for that. We are looking at working with different providers. Even here at IATA, there's a great amount. And on the ground handling side, it's just making sure that the right messaging is sent at the right time, because there's also some data that can actually cause more anxiety as opposed to reducing it. And in many cases, it's more the owner that has more anxiety for travel than their pet itself. And so how can we help reduce that? So we're looking at different ways we can do that, and just making sure that it's in compliance, security, and just making sure, for safety as they're traveling, to not have certain things that could be restrictive.
How quickly the pet has managed to get out of the destination? Is it as easy as the passenger walks out of the terminal?
This would be certainly for if they're traveling with their pet in cabin. So for example, next week, I'm traveling with my dog. I have a mini poodle, and we're traveling to Berlin, another conference, and he travels with me in cabin. So when he's traveling, he's in his carrier the whole time by my feet. And when we arrive, we go through, customs clearance. And as soon as we head out to get our baggage and walk out of the airport, I have him out of the bag and there he goes, enjoying a new place. So that is definitely for the passenger side. On the cargo side, that's different. Every location is different. Some places have a specific animal center or an animal lounge where they may be taken first. Certain countries have certain restrictions where they actually need to do certain checks, quarantines. So there's a lot more restrictions when it comes to in cargo. And that's where, we look at which part is a human touch that we need to include and which part can be data focused so that we can just make sure that everything is in compliance, things are handled safely. But there may be a case, for example, that you get off the plane and your dog is still several hours, you're waiting for them to be available for pickup. So whereas others may have a quarantine for 10 days, and now you have to wait 10 days for them to be taken out of quarantine.
Have you heard of instances where we keep hearing about the loss of baggage coming in 2 days later? Have you heard about instances where you have pets, we don't know where they are, and it's arriving 2 days later?
There's very rare cases because live animals have to be handled in such a very particular way. It's not like you have dangerous goods, you have pharma. Live animals is a very touchy subject. So it's very rare that you have those cases. In more cases than not, they would rather not put the pet on that flight than to be at a transit where maybe there could be a misconnect or something.
Let's talk about processes, regulations. Different countries have different regulations. Industry bodies like IATA come out with animal transport regulations. How relevant are they for the business that you have? Do you really resort to, or do you really have certification from these industry organizations to really carry on with the business that you have?
There's different organizations. We look into different ones to gather some of this data. So the live animals regulations from IATA is a really great source, certainly an industry standard for how we need to consider regulations, but there's also country, even state level regulations. The USDA has their own. We have to check the CDC, agriculture departments to identify some of this information. And sometimes they may make changes that are not notifying other parties. So we constantly have to be up to date. But the beauty of our team actually doing a lot of that, building relationship and understanding what changes are happening, is that each airline doesn't have to do it, because currently each of them are doing the research. Is there a change in this country? Did they just change their rules here? They can have a centralized data source from our software and a service, and instead of having to do that internally, which can be very manual and time consuming.
How friendly is the industry to the idea that you have and to the idea of pet reservation system?
I did come last year to the cargo conference because we did focus very much on the passenger side and decided to, how can we provide a solution, or how can we solve a challenge and a problem? Everyone has been so lovely. I must say, more times than not, industry providers, IT software solutions, airlines are just like, tell me about this. I have not heard about this, and we need something to improve our process. So that's been very exciting. Obviously, we needed to do that before we started building our systems, and that actually allowed us to build partnerships so that we can design things with them. That has been a really great experience so far.
But tell me, what is the biggest challenge for you to really scale this business?
Challenge to scale. Well, there's always opportunities left and right. So, for us, it's more of focusing in on where we need to now. We're getting pulled from many angles. Free forwarders like, cool, can you build a system for us? I've been contacted by the animal facilities asking me, well, can you make a system for us? Relocation companies asking. So I think for us, it's more of just focusing on the airline industry and just solving this bottleneck that we know exists. And if the market continues to grow and more people own pets, we need to solve it. And we already hear how the cargo industry is still behind on technology. So just making sure that we have the right partners that are ready and excited to start something new and improve in the pet space.
What are the categories of pets as of now you allow passengers to carry with them? Is it just dogs and cats?
So we started off with domestic pets. So we did focus on pets. Usually it is dogs and cats. It's very regional specific, but we allow all live animals. At the end of the day, we provide the software. So it's up to the airline that chooses which species, which breeds that they allow. And it's up to them to set those parameters. But yes, we can have, for example, we talk about some airlines that, have horses, others have worms, goats, frogs, falcons. You look at different parts of the world and what type of animals they transport. So yeah, really any animal.
Tell us briefly about also the company, how many people work for you and how it is funded. Is it self-funded? Are you looking to raise funding? It's a great concept, a great idea. And I'm sure that this is something that a lot of the investors must be looking at. So tell us about the Pawtrip in terms of a company.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did open in 2019 and we are venture backed. So we did have the opportunity to raise a pre-seed round. So we're backed by Precursor Ventures, AVG by Basecamp, several, most of them being in the US, where I'm originally from. And that has been our way to really put momentum into our system. We have 5 as part of our core team. And then beyond that, we have around 50 that we leverage for different partnerships and as we scale with each airline. So that is how our team, we're distributed. We're all fully remote and also we all own pets. That is one of the pieces. We understand our customers and really put that love and attention into what we build.
Tell us about the pets that you have.
Yes. So I have a mini poodle. His name is Coco. And my husband actually surprised me with our little Coco while we were traveling. So it's just so relevant to why we decided to emphasize and solve this pain point, because we travel and we don't want to limit our travel because we have a dog. We want to actually feel like we could do it all together as a family. And it's exciting. The industry, hotels are becoming more pet friendly. I'm getting news alerts constantly of new providers, Uber Pets, Airbnb. The travel industry is recognizing that people want to travel with their pets. And I'm excited because that means we get to enjoy more places together. Yeah.
What about somebody who wants to relocate their pets, not just one? There's several of them to a different country. Right now, I know I've been talking to somebody who is based in Hong Kong, but he and his family is moving to Calgary. He has got 15 dogs to be moved into Calgary. Is that something that you would do, help him to relocate those pet animals?
So in that case, because of the quantity, would actually need to work with a relocation agent or a freight forwarder for that. Because when it's more than 5 dogs, for example, then they would need to more work on a commercial side. And so that's how they would. So basically they would work with a freight forwarder. The freight forwarder would work with the airline, and the airline is the one who would have our software in order to streamline that reservation. So in that case, instead of them calling, do you have 15 spaces for dogs at this location? They can actually do it all online, and they can make sure that they have the documentation, the vaccinations that they need, so that it could be streamlined. But not only are we touching on the freight forwarder, but the owner can also know, here's the information about my pet. Okay, they've been approved. Okay, these are the flights. These are their tickets. We issue tickets to them. And so they feel like they're part of the process. And honestly, that's part of peace of mind people are looking for.
Nicole, it's a great concept, and it's been a privilege and a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.